Guys, welcome back to the channel. We're gonna do a updated Gimp video today. I know a lot of people have seen my last video here. I know it's helped a lot of you guys. It'll be about a year in September when I put that video out. I know I did a part 2 update with JD McHaley. But I wanted to kind of go back, revisit that video, and kind of update what I've learned, as well as show you guys a little bit more in depth as to what you can do. You know, learning to do all of this, it can really make your paint scheme stand out, and you can be, you can kind of set yourself apart from everybody, I guess. So I'm going to go ahead and walk you guys through doing a paint scheme. Specifically for this one, we're going to use the Gen 4 car, as it's one that I haven't updated for my own personal paint schemes yet. And so I'm going to show you a few things with that and how I get certain things the way that I get them. So let's go ahead and we're going to jump into the video. And I hope you guys, you know, can take something away from this, and I hope it helps you. Okay, so as you can see, I have Gimp open. If you don't have Gimp yet, go ahead and get that downloaded. I will put a link in the description to where you can get that. The other thing being is, obviously, we need to get this template from somewhere. So make sure that you have iracing open. You're going to want to, and I'll close this out so you can see where I'm at here. You're going to want to go to the paint section here, and it'll pull up your car model. If, you know, this isn't the car model you're going to work on, you'll just select new car, pick your car that you're going to paint. And then the thing that we need to do is we need to download the template. Now the template will download, it'll be in a zip file. You'll have to unzip it to be able to use that file. So keep that in mind as well. So now that we've, you know, like I said, we've got it unzipped, I've got it open here. This is going to be the template that we're working in. On the left hand side here, you've got all your expandable things as far as what we can kind of do inside of this template. I'll go ahead and make this where you can see it a little bit better here. Anything in the red is stuff that is good for reference, good to kind of turn on and off, like the wire will give you a good idea of where your center lines are, where your panels are. It can be very handy. There'll be some key things that I'll show you with that you'll want to focus on if you wind up using the wire, which we will here very shortly. The mask is all of this brown area, so we can turn that off, and it's just a blue blur. I tend to leave the mask on even after I export, so you don't have to turn off all of these. The number block locations, it'll turn it on, it'll show you where your number blocks actually are at. I tend to not always use all of them, like the one on the headlight and the one on the tail light I generally won't use. I'll just use the standard 3. But that's handy for getting that lined up. Your sponsor block locations, again, very handy as to where you want them. You'll figure out too, kind of once you get your numbers and stuff, and how you want it to look, kind of lined up. It really helps. So you can turn that on and off for, you know, depending on what you're doing there. Car mandatory is any of the graphics for the fuel doors, the brake rotors, all sorts of other things. And you can choose to turn them off or you can leave them on. I like to leave them on because I like the realism look. Moving down further, car decals. That's any of the tail lights, headlights, side door stickers, anything like that. You can choose to run without them. You can turn them on again. It's your choice. I know a lot of guys like to change the headlight decals and stuff like that, and I'll show you some of that here in a little bit as well. Your color change logos are going to be your, like on this, the Impala SS, the Chevy logo, if you're trying to make this look like a Dodge or a Ford, obviously you'd probably turn that off, or we might change that and use that for something else. The tape, you can turn that on and off. If it's on, it'll look just like you have tape. If you turn it off, you can colorize it, and you'll be able to, it'll look different in sim, is all. Pit board is going to be, it's actually this guy. If we had it colored different, you'd be able to see it. I usually obviously leave that on because you're going to have a pit board in this. Your pit box colors, as you can see down in the bottom left, right here, if I turn these on and off, it'll take the color of the base, or it'll turn on two other colors. I'll show you how to change those as well. The next one we've got is car patterns, which if you have something that you see in iRacing here, like any of these patterns that pop up on the car, these all show up inside of Gimp in your templates. So if we expand car patterns, and it will always show you the top most turned on. And when I say turned on, any of them that have an eye on them. So if you don't like this pattern, you can click off, it'll go to the next one, and so on and so forth. And you just kind of keep going until you see something you like. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what if I don't see anything that I like? And this is where today's video is gonna kind of come in a little on the key side. So I have been working on a universal paint pattern for all of my cars. If we come back to iRacing, which I have right here, and let's say we choose, we're gonna grab the Thunderbird. So this is the universal pattern that I've been working on. Now, if we look, there's not actually a pattern here that looks anything like it. That's because this paint actually comes off of a Monte Carlo, which I have a spec map in this folder, which I'll also get into here in just a second. But I have taken this template for this scheme and put it onto all of my cars. So I'm going to show you how to do that, how to kind of create your own template, if you will, especially if you're somebody that changes colors around but likes the look of the template, all of that sort of thing. So, first things first, go ahead and make sure before we start anything with this Gen 4 car, which is going to be Stock Cars 2 and Gen 4 Cup, we're going to take and select everything in here. We're going to delete it. We don't want anything in this folder, and we want to make sure it's clear. Which this is also something good to do every once in a while, because you may not race with the same people all the time. You know, going through and clearing out your cache of saved paints from trading paints. So we can go ahead and minimize that. We'll go ahead and select back to our Gen 4 car. We don't care about saving the progress. Okay, so this is what we're dealing with here. So we come back to trading paints, and like I said, this is based off of a Monte Carlo 87's paint scheme. So I've already got that template open, and we're going to start kind of working with this. Before I do, we come back to the Gen 4 template. Now, you want to organize as best as possible, especially with paint schemes, because you want to be able to turn layers off, not have certain layers interact with others. So the first thing that we're going to do is I'm going to add a new layer for this, and I'm just going to call it Monte Carlo, because that's what I based the template off of. So we'll go ahead and call it, click OK. So it's given us a layer, there's nothing in it. It's under car patterns, which is perfectly fine. It winds up where it needs to be organized. So now what we'll do is we're going to create another layer above, and this is where a lot of our organization kind of comes in. We want to make sure, again, that logos go where they need to, numbers go where they need to. So we're actually going to create 2 layers here. We're going to call this one logos, and then we're going to create, and I'm going to drag that to where it's closer to the car pattern just because. We're going to call the next layer numbers. And this becomes handy, especially if you've got to go back and delete something. Or let's say you want to create the same paint scheme for SimStamp versus custom number. This is something else that I've been doing as well, so that way the paint scheme looks the same to people that do and don't have custom numbers turned on. So we've got those 3 created. And now what we're going to do is we're going to come over to the Monte Carlo scheme that I'm basing this off of. We're going to make sure that we have that pattern highlighted. So make sure you click on the box to highlight it. Now the way that I like to do this when I'm moving certain pieces, especially one where it goes from the hood to the fender, I'll copy the hood first because I center the hood up and make sure that it looks good where it should be. So to do that, we'll just grab the rectangle select tool because it makes it very easy. Now I'm going to cut out the parts where it kind of bends around. And really, we don't need to copy the whole thing. We just mainly need to get the idea of the graphic. It'll select it. We'll hit Control C to copy it. And then we'll come back over here. We're going to click on our Monte Carlo pattern. And then we're just going to Control V, which will paste it right in place. So obviously you can see it's on the car. And then we're just going to use our move tool, which is the upper left. Grab that. Yep, it fits, but it's not 100% right. So we're going to do a couple things here. To make sure that we have it centered, we're going to turn the wire on, and this is what I was talking about earlier, of making sure that you're careful with this, because if you click on the wire right here, it used to drag the wire around, so it looks like they might have fixed something in Gimp there. But so we know this is our center line right here. We know we have a peak, so what we want to do is get it lined up kind of off the center. We've got it fairly close. Now this is where the not using your mouse can come in handy. You can use your arrows up and down. So if we click down, you can see it just ever so slightly move. You can go up with it however you want to do it, left to right as well. Which if you look, you also see the yellow outline box moving, and we don't want that. So we've already made our first mistake here. So we're gonna go back just a little bit. And now we've got the anchor, or the box is outlined again, and that's the key thing, right? You want to make sure that that box stays outlined, or otherwise you're moving parts you don't want to. So again, we adjust, we move this kind of where we want to. Okay, so we've got it kind of centered up. We're going to go ahead and turn our wire back off, because the other thing that we need to do is we need to make this bigger. Otherwise, this isn't going to come out to the edge. If we turn the wire on, we can see where the edge of the template is right here. So we know we need to drag it out at least that far. So we'll turn the wire off. We're going to click this tool here, which if you hover over any of these tools or long click, you'll see a bunch of different ideas like rotate, scale, flip. These are all ones that we're going to use. So a lot of these you're not going to use. You just don't. So we're going to scale this. Click on the part that is surrounded by the moving lines. I'm going to drag this down. And because we have enough overhang down here, I'm not too worried, so we can kind of shuffle this, but we'll stretch it right out a little bit. scale that. So now we've got it scaled to where this should fit the hood pretty correctly. Turn our wire on, make sure that we're centered there. At this point, I think we can actually move this back a little bit. So we'll reselect the move tool, and I'm just going to use the arrow keys to move it back just a little. You'll have to click, and then use your arrow keys to move it back. And that's probably about good. So turn the wire back off. We're going to click the rectangle select. Just click anywhere in here, and it'll deselect what you've been working on. At this point, we're going to use this as our first way to kind of get a look of what or how this is going to look. So we're going to export as, and then this is where you'll navigate to your documents folder, iracing, paint, and then we're going to go down to stock cars 2, and we're looking for the Gen 4 Cup car. So when you go to do this, you're going to call it car underscore and then your account number. So that's what you'll usually call it. Now, I'm going to go ahead and name it this for right now. I will also show you how to do it for custom numbers here once we get to that point, but I like to create the sim stamp car first. Because the second part where we created that numbers section will come into play, and it's just easier to do it after the fact because then you're just adding the numbers to it. So we'll go ahead and export it. Make sure you get that .tga in there, or otherwise it won't create the file correctly. You'll click export again. We can come back to iracing, and we can see the graphics on the hood. It stretches all the way to the fenders, which is nice. So it makes it actually really easy. So now the only thing that we have to do to finish up the front half of this car and make it look like our Monte Carlo is to get the ribbon coming down the side here, on both sides. And there's actually a really easy way to do this. I used to do this the really hard way. But what we're going to do is we're going to use the hood graphic to pull this off. So we know we have our center line right here. So if we just take and grab it, and I use the angle that it needs to go as to which side of the hood I need to grab. So we've got that. We'll Control C, Control V, which pastes it, and then we'll just drag it down here. So we'll put that there on the car. We'll do another export. You can hit Control E as well to make this faster. We'll export it to the car. We come back to iracing, and the blue line is already the thickness that we need it to be. So really we just got to make it match up. As you can see here and here, it's a little off. So we'll come back to GIMP if I can select the right thing. So make sure you have the move tool selected. You'll click on it, and we're going to do about 5 clicks on the left key. We will do a re-export, come back to iracing, and we can see that this was a little bit too far. So probably come back about 2. So we will go to the right twice, do another export, come back to iracing one more time, and we can see that that fender is now seamless. So it looks good. We're in the spot where we want to be. So we're going to go ahead and do the other side as well. I'll go ahead and skip over that so you guys don't have to see the same thing twice, and we'll go from there. Okay, so we've got our second piece copied, pasted. We'll jump over here to iracing. It's about as close as we can get it. I messed with it a little bit, but that is just bugging me a little bit right there. I'm not going to worry about it too much because you're not going to see it that well at speed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come back to GIMP, and we have this whole back section, the back of the car, these pieces. We're going to do much the same. I'm going to go ahead and get this copied and everything. Again, to save you guys from watching it and kind of reliving what we've already done, right? So I'll get this copied. I'll meet you guys back here after I've gotten this all done, and you'll see how I've got that all copied and moved over. Right. So now we have all of the template copied and it's moved on. As you can see, I haven't done the back of the car. If you look at the template on the Monte Carlo, the back is really kind of funky. So I'm going to walk you through how to kind of custom make that back section on this car. And it's something that you may have to do for some of this. To make things easy, I start with this side. I copy the first chunk, get it where I want it, get it the size that I want it, and then I will copy, paste a new version, and then I will use this flip tool right here, and it will let you flip either horizontally or vertically, get it into place, and then both sides match here. Then I do the same thing with this. I flip it and I paste it. So we've got all this kind of excess crap all over the car. If we come over to iRacing, the numbers on, I had the sponsor blocks on before so I could make sure that this didn't interfere. But you can see there's remnants on other parts of the car where it shouldn't be, so we'll clean that up here in just a minute. But we have our lines matching. Everything looks really nice. We're going to go ahead and we're going to finish up the back of this car. And this is one of those things with the back anyways. So I kind of base where everything's got to be off the taillights. Like I could see there's a little bit of a gap to where the screen's got to start. So we'll go ahead, come back to Gimp. I'm going to use my rectangle box tool. We're going to leave a little bit of gap. We're just going to drag that straight across. And I'm just going to make the whole back of this car from that point down green, because it's going to make our lives a little bit easier. And the reason that I'm still using green, even in places where I probably won't have green, is just to give us a unified color to base our color changes off of when we get to that point. So we've made that green. We'll go ahead and re-export to the car. Back to iRacing. And you can see what I'm talking about. This car twists. Hence the Twisted Sister name that it has. But this side's pretty close. So what that's telling me is it looks like we're going to have to bring our line across and up into the taillight. So it's not going to be straight across the back. So what we're going to do, we'll off click so it deselects that. We're going to grab our free select tool. We'll zoom into about 200%, so it'll make our lives a whole lot easier. And I'm going to move up pixel or two. And then we're going to come right across, right to there. And we can just bring this down, doesn't matter where to. And we've created our own box at this point. So we'll just go ahead and paste the green in there. And we're going to go ahead and export it back to the car. Back to iRacing. And just like that, it starts to match. Now the next part is going to be tricky, but it does look like if we follow that body line. See, we can't follow the body line either because it winds up in a weird spot there. Because again, the car is twisted. So what we're going to do is we're going to come back, Gimp. I'm going to turn the wire around for a minute so we can kind of see where we're going to start at. So we know that this side has to be lower. So we'll come back to our free select. We're going to start it on the body line. And if we kind of base it off of this, you know, there's a little bit of room. So if we go off the body line, we drop it down, stay right about there. I feel like that gives us a pretty uniform straight across look, and we'll just go ahead and surround it. Grab our fill tool. Grab our blue that we're using for most of it. We're going to paint that. Turn the wire back off. Re-export the car. Oh, so we got a little bit to take out there. A little bit more to take there, but we're getting there, right? And a lot of this when you're making a custom template is a little bit of trial and error. We're actually gonna undo, and kind of back this up a little bit. So we're gonna take that pre-select tool, drop down a little bit more. I think that'll do it this time. Round it again. Redrop our blue. Turn the wire back off. And we're gonna go ahead and re-export. Back to iracing. Now that's perfect. That looks really good. So we're matching now. So at this point, all of the body line stuff is done. We've got it on the car. We know it matches. So now we're gonna go ahead and really bust into this paint scheme. We'll zoom this back out so you guys can see what we're doing. And we're just gonna off select. Okay, so now that we know where we're at with stuff here, we're still going to be dealing in the template. We're going to set all of our colors in template. And I know that I want the front of this car green. I want the line here, this line purple. And then for the main body section, we're going to do a white because we're going to chrome it. So we'll do some spec map with this too. So to make things kind of easy, first off, we're going to change the way that our bucket fill operates. We're going to select fill similar colors, and this will allow you to fill the sections that you want to fill. We're going to do a couple other things with it too. Grab the whole bumper first. And we're going to go ahead and make the bumper green. We know that the nose is going to be green. This last little chunk. Get that car. That. And grab the nose of the hood here, paint that green, because the whole idea that I'm doing with this is I'm going to save this template so that way I can use it to change colors later if I want to, which will make this a little bit easier to deal with. Grab these chunks of the fenders, sides. That, and just so we can see where our progress is at, we'll go ahead and do an export. Okay, so the front of the car is all green, just how we want it. Looks good. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and get all of the baby blue that you see and the red. We're going to turn that white. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll go ahead and when I come back, that'll all be white. Okay, at this point we've got the entire car in white. You can see there's a couple of spots I got to clean up real quick, but we have it on the car. Everything that we're going to chrome is white. So that part's done. Now I'm going to go ahead and make this blue and this green purple. So like I said, it uniforms the car. And then we'll make this blue will actually be green as well, or I might have these two mixed up. It might be green and then purple, but I've got to go check the other car. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and clean up these ugly lines along with this, and then we should be ready to hopefully lay some graphics when we come back. Okay, so at this point, we went ahead, we've cleaned all of this up. The only thing we got to deal with is the pit board, which we'll deal with that here in a little bit. As you can see, everything is how it should be. Let's go over to iracing, look at the car. The car is all set as far as the template's concerned, so that looks good. Now what I'm gonna do right now is save the template, because I'm going to reuse this a lot. So because we've got our own built template, I'm just going to go ahead and save, and then go back to my iracing and templates, and we're going to overwrite our Gen 4 template. Apparently it doesn't like the given name, so we'll just call it an updated one, and then that way we have it. Oh, that's why. It's trying to save in PSD form and it can't, so we'll save that. So we have the XCF, it's saved. Now we can reuse it whenever. All right, so that part is done. Oh, I just saw something that got missed. This part right here, which I don't think really matters too much, because I haven't seen it anywhere. Resave that, and we're gonna go ahead and re-export just to make sure, which would be one of these window spots. So make sure you've got all your bases covered. It looks like we're golden, I think. So, all right, so that part's done. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get into some logo stuff, some number stuff. So this is where, you remember I had you create these two little pieces here that says logos and numbers on the right hand side. Because what we want to do is we want to create this as a sim stamp number first. We're not going to mess with numbers yet. We're just going to do logos. So I've already got one of my logos here. As you can see, it's pretty big because of how we've created it at this point. So I'm just going to select it all. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to make sure that logos is selected right here. We're going to make sure that nothing is selected inside of the template. And then we're just going to go ahead and Control V, which will paste it. And like I said, it's pretty big, so we'll move it to the center here. And we're just going to go ahead and scale this. So we'll grab the top, and you can grab the graphic and kind of move it. And I know this is going to be on the hood, so I've got to be pretty close as far as size. So we're going to drop it a little bit smaller and call that good on scale. We're going to go ahead and rotate it. We're going to rotate it by -90 degrees. Rotate. And we'll move it kind of where I want it here. But you can see it's still too big. So we can go ahead and scale it back down just a little bit more. That good. There, I think. We'll go ahead and re-export so we can see what it looks like. Oop, wrong program. There we go. And I like to try to keep it close to over the wheels kind of a deal. And that doesn't look too bad to me. So our hood decal is done. Now we'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and do the quarter decals, which are a little bit different, just because of what I've used for logo stuff. This is it. Again, this is a pretty large logo, mostly because of how we built it. And we're still on the logo screen, so we'll go ahead and do this. Scale this down. And we know we're going to put it on the quarter. And move her towards the back here. Now, I know that this is a downward slope on this graphic underneath it. We're going to go ahead and export it anyway, so I can kind of get an idea of what am I seeing and what do I want to do with it. So you can obviously tell it clips the top off, so we probably will angle it downward just to make it look better. So we'll go ahead and click on this. Now, you don't have to use this. I like to sometimes just eyeball it as close as I can get it. And we'll actually zoom in here so we can make sure that we're on the correct angle. That looks pretty close. We're just gonna click rotate. Bring this guy down a little bit. And actually we can under rotate it just a little bit. And if I can get my hand to work correctly. Takes a little bit off. Export. Here. And now it fits right where we want it. No trim off the top. Bit of trim off of the edge of the graphic, but it looks pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is we'll copy this graphic here. I'm going to go ahead and set it, and then when I come back, we'll have it on both sides. Okay, so we got the logo on both sides. As you can see, I don't have them lined up perfectly because this car is as twisted as it is, plus the gas door over here. It's not going to look 100% correct. It's very difficult, especially if you have OCD, to get this the way that you really want it to look. But as you can see, minimal trim on the gas door, a little bit of trim there. It doesn't look too bad. I know if we were to take this up and move it forward, we'd have it cut on that sail panel. So I'm just gonna deal with it, unfortunately. So that's the logos on that. Now, we are going to use the same logo for the back of the car, so I'll just go ahead and recopy. We'll repaste, and the back of the car obviously being up here. I'm going to go ahead and scale. I'm going to bring this kind of where I want it. And we're going to finagle it until it fits. Top down. Drag that into the center. Smaller, because I feel like it's going to be way too big. Scale that. We'll do an export. We're going to come back to iracing. And we're a little high, which I kind of felt was to be expected. Come back over here. Select our move tool. Bring this down quite a bit. Do a re-export. Come back to iracing. That looks better. Might bring it down just a little because I see it's into the spoiler screws there, so drop that down. Another export. And again, trial and error, guys. Like, until you get it exactly where you want it, mess with it, get it fairly stable. So at this point we have graphics on the car. So we're looking good. The next piece is where we're going to go ahead and create our spec map. And I say we get to that point because, well, we've got graphics on the car, and for the most part, this paint scheme is kind of done as far as I'm concerned, except for that spec map. So we're going to go ahead back to iracing, and we're going to reopen this template. And I don't need the updated one because I don't need the actual template itself, so we'll just grab the most recent. And the reason that I do this is because it makes it much easier to create things, copy things, move things. You could do this all under one paint scheme, but to me, it's tougher. So we're going to use the second one. We're going to create this spec map. Now to do that, we come over here to the right where it says custom spec map. Go ahead and click that plus and expand it. Click the eyeball on. I like to zoom out so I can see the whole thing all at once. And we're just going to be messing with the red channel for this one. Because of what we're doing in creating the chrome. The green channel is for your satins, and your blue channel is your clear coat. Green channel, the brighter green it is, the more flat the paint scheme comes out. The more closer to black it is in the green spectrum, the more satin it looks. The blue channel, the clear coat, you can go about 12% with it. I don't usually mess with it. Like the advantage is kind of negligible to me. But for this part, we're going to go ahead and we're going to mess with the red channel. I'm going to click on base paint 2 under the red channel because that's where we're going to paste everything. We'll come back here to the original paint scheme, and we're going to get this template out of the way so we don't have to be tripping over it. We'll come over to the paint scheme. We're going to go to the template after we unselect the graphic. We'll go to the template. I'm going to go ahead and right click, select by color. I'm going to select all the white. We're going to Control C, come back to the template for the spec map, and we're going to paste in place. Makes it to where you don't have to move anything. It's very handy. Now, because we're going to chrome it, and we're in the red channel, obviously we want it as bright red as we can get it. Go ahead and dump that in. And now we'll go ahead and to export as. And again, we're going to come back to your documents folder, iracing, paint, and we're stock cars 2 again, Gen 4. So that's where we're at. Now for the spec map, it's going to be car underscore spec underscore your account number here dot TGA. So we'll just go ahead and export it. Click export again. And we'll come back to iRacing, and the chrome is on the car. But there's a problem. The logos are chromed as well, which we don't want. And this is where those separate layers come in very, very handy. Obviously, we've got this chunk of it, of this logo, and then all the logos on the back of the car are chromed. We don't want that. We want it to look nice. We want it to look glossy. So we'll come back here. We'll make sure we're unselected. I'm going to click on the logos box right here, and then I'm just going to click Control C to copy it. Come back to the spec map. Make sure that we're unselected. It'll let me. And then we're going to right click again, and we're going to edit and paste in place. Now, so these logos don't show up in the spec map, the way to do that is, like with everything else that's in here, we're going to paint it black. So we'll just click on them. We'll black those out. We'll export it again. Come back and look at the car, and now they're nice and gloss. So you have your graphics are all unchromed. It looks really nice. We've got some color change things that I want to do really quick before we export this. But overall, the sim stamp number paint scheme part is done. There is no way to unchrome the numbers with a sim stamp. I really wish iRacing would bring those numbers up to the forefront or let you put them in where they should be in the sim stamp. Unfortunately, they don't. So this is how we kind of get around it. Now, if you kind of look, it looks like our fender logos are a little off with where they should be, which means something got fudged somewhere. So I'm gonna go back and take a look at that and fix that really quick. So I will be right back, you guys. Okay, so I was able to fix it. I actually found something that is broken in this template, and I will show you what that is. So it looks like when you turn on parts, the default parts wind up in the wrong spot, specifically when it comes to the config graphics and whatnot. I actually wound up turning that off and then just coming over to the original template. I copied the car decals, pasted them in, turned them black. So we're good there. So when we come to iRacing, everything is fixed exactly how I want it to be. So that all looks good. This doesn't look funky anymore. I'm very happy with this. So there's a few house cleaning details we want to take care of with this setup. Like I said, we've got the color change logos that are around the car. So the way that I handle color change logos is I select it, so you can see obviously the outline box goes are way out and around. If you were to just color fill it, it would fill this blob, whatever color you filled it with. I want to turn these black. So we're going to go ahead and alpha to selection. We're going to grab our bucket fill tool. It's already set to black, and then we're just going to go ahead and click in one of them. So it will change just that part to black. Now, if you wanted to change certain pieces, certain colors, because you've got different lines, etc., you can go and do fill similar colors, and you can fill one by one. I'll go ahead and export this so you can see what it looks like. And we've got it all in black, and it looks really sharp, stands out really nicely. I'm very happy with that. So that takes care of that part. The next part is pit board. So we'll go ahead and take care of that as well. I like to have a really bright pit board so I can see it very easily. Click on pit board, and for some reason it's not letting me just fill it. So we'll go ahead and just select it with our square selector tool. Grab our bucket fill and fill the pit board. Now you can put logos and stuff on here, put a bald eagle, you can put whatever you want. It doesn't really matter. Just it's a way so you could see where you're at coming onto pit road. Next we've got the pit box colors. I don't really have to change too much with this because obviously one of the colors is already green. I'll use my square selector tool for this so that way I can select one of the other ones, which is the red one. I'm going to make this purple just so it stands out. So that's set. Again, we're not messing with numbers here, so at this point we can go ahead and export the car, come back and make sure everything looks good here. So that's set. I will go ahead and grab a picture of the car so we can put this thing on Trading Paints. So I'm going to go ahead and put this thing into Trading Paints right now, which is key because if we come back to our documents and iRacing, goes back over so you guys can see paints. We're going to go down to stock cars to Gen 4 Cup. All we have right now is this file. And this is so we can obviously see it in iRacing, but we need to get that into Trading Paints before we go into a session and Trading Paints overwrites all of this. So what we're going to do, and I'm already in Trading Paints, we're looking at my showroom here. We're going to go ahead and just upload, and then we're going to select a paint file, back to documents, iRacing, paint, and then stock cars to Gen 4. So we're going to grab the car file, not the spec file. So that's got that, and we're going to add a spec map because we have the spec map. This is where the MIP file comes in that's created when you export and load it into iRacing the first time. So the spec map's on there. I'm going to set it to community so that way anybody can run it. And we're going to put it on the, I think it's got its own separate, if I remember correctly. Yeah, so it's just going to be the ARCA. So we'll call it house paint because that's literally what it is. We're gonna leave it sim stamp because obviously it doesn't have a custom number at the moment. We're gonna go ahead and grab our screenshot of the car. Set that there. I generally don't mess with any of this for, you know, the sim stamp numbers. So we'll just go ahead and add the paint to the showroom. Okay, so we've got it on the showroom. I know I'm going to put it on this car. So I'm going to put it on the Arca. And once that's done, we'll put it on the Gen 4 as well. So now my Arca and Gen 4 on the sim stamp side is updated, but we're going to come back and do one more piece to this. This is where you're going to do your sim stamp, or not your sim stamp, I'm sorry. You're going to do your custom number paint scheme. One great place to get numbers from, especially if you're a car guy or a NASCAR guy like myself, is Big Evil Racing has a boatload of numbers for historical. You can get all of them. And the nice thing is when you download them, they come in different layers. So, like, the background is a layer, the black outline of this number is a layer, the gold is a layer. Everything that you see color-wise has a layer to it. So if you have a specific number that you use that you like from the NASCAR side, you can grab them from here. They got plenty of numbers, and that's where I kind of came up with mine from. So what we can do, and I already have a file for this, so we're going to open up that file, and I have this guy right here. This is actually the old Mike Skinner 31 style, and like I said, they come with different layers. This one's been doctored, so the background's out of it, and I've already done some coloring and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and grab this number to begin with. So I do the forward lean on the left side of the roof. So go ahead and make sure we're on numbers. Control V. Grab this guy. Rotate him around 180 degrees. And we'll go ahead and get the roof set up first, because it is the bigger of the two numbers, and it will make downsizing a lot easier if we get to that point. Feel that. Now, to see how this looks, this is where things are going to change, because it is a custom number. We have to make it appear as a custom number. So we have to do a new export. And really the only change that we have to make is when we do a new export, we have to call it car_num_ and then the same file name. So we'll go ahead and do an export. And when we come back to iracing, now it's got custom numbers on. So you can see the numbers chromed here. We'll fix that here in a minute. It looks a little big and a little forward. Actually, it might just be forward. So we'll move this thing back just a little bit. Oop, didn't want to go that way with it. Bring it back this way. Do a re-export. That looks a lot better, actually. So we'll probably leave the number that size. So now, you copy and paste it again. I'm going to put it over here on the side of the car. And this is where you have to pay a little bit of attention. And I say this because we're going to scale it, right? I say attention. So I always pay attention to the width number because you want your numbers left to right to match. The roof, you don't have to worry about it because obviously you're not going to see them side by side, but you don't want it to look goofy. So keep in mind, remember this number. We're going to scale that. We're going to export. Come back over here. See, our number looks a little on the big side. So we're going to Actually, we might just bring it down. Let's try that first. So let's grab the move tool, click on this guy, bring it down. Still looks a little big to me. So we will go ahead and scale it down just a little bit. It's 366. Now the one thing you could do is turn on the number block, and you can get it pretty close. Go ahead and re-export. And if we come back here, there, the number looks a little bit better. Looks like it's in a more normal place. So I'll just double check my numbers on this. It's 367 on the width. So we just click scale. Come back here, turn off that layer, turn on this layer, copy this guy, paste him in place, scale it immediately to 367 so they match on size. Grab our move tool, and actually we grabbed the wrong freaking number because I forgot to select the right thing. So we're gonna come back over here, we're gonna undo all of that. Oop. Do that paste. Now we got the right one copied, or right one selected. Paste it back in place. Scale it to 367. Don't know how I didn't notice that right off the bat. And we'll drag that at about here as well. Just a touch. Go back. Export. iRacing. I always try to find something to go off of, right? So we're right about where we want to be. To me, that looks good. So now what we'll do, and before I even do that, we're gonna need to adjust our pit board because now we have to put a number on it. So unselect, copy this number because that's the number that's the correct way. Paste it in place. We're going to scale this guy to fit. Center. Scale. Pitboard's done. Click off of this guy, and now we will get the numbers all square. Copy this. Come back over to our spec map. We're going to paste it in place. Paint these guys completely black. Do another export on this. And our numbers are unchromed. Now, that being said, when it comes to getting this into trading paints, this is where I get picky. Because this is my number, this is my IP. I like to make sure that nobody else can run this, specifically the spec number. So what we'll do, and I'll show you how to make it to where nobody else can run it. We'll come back to what I'm racing. We're going to go to, let's see, yeah, so here there is two different ones, and I don't know why they do this, but we'll come to Gen 4. So we're actually going to do this in two places. Click on custom number. We're going to choose a new paint. Obviously mine's 31. And we're going to come back to documents, iRacing, paint, stock cars 2, Gen 4 cup, and we're going to grab the number file for this first part. So make sure you grab the car num file. so this will upload. So that's there. We will grab the spec map. It's going to be there already. Spec map is now on the car. So now what we'll do is I'll go ahead and set my ARCA as well. You can watch me do that again. If it wants to load. A minute here. I've been having issues with this, so maybe we won't be doing it right this second. All right. Well, on that note, guys, that is literally the entire update that I have as far as creating paints and how I do them better and how to do custom numbers. I know that gets brought up quite a bit. I hope this helps you. I hope this can make it to where you can do your own paints, because really it's not crazy hard. I have been doing some throwback style paint schemes, which maybe on the next one that I build I'll do a video on how to do that, because there is some line stuff that we can do that I didn't cover here. But this should get you moving in the correct direction, making everything look a lot better for you. And like I said, if you've got a custom number, you can go ahead and get that running. If you have any questions, comments, put them down in the comment section below. I will put links in there to Big Evil Racing, the Gimp installer, as well as a link to my original video that I did for this that has helped tons of people with paint schemes. The other thing is, if you've got specific questions you want to ask me, I'll have my Discord linked in the bottom. You can either join my server, message me directly, however you want to do it. But again, I hope this helps you guys. I hope this, makes your time on iRacing a little bit more enjoyable. I know it has mine. So, have fun with the video. Get out there, try some crazy paint schemes, and we'll see you on the track.